Hey, it's Saturday, January 8th, 2022, and this is episode 1 of
The Slayers of Boredom Podcast.
So, first of all, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Sean.
2022 is here.
This is episode 1, so I guess, hey, this is my friend Sean, guys, and I'm Dan. Nice to meet you. We are the Slayers of Boredom Podcasters, and we are inviting you to slay with us.
It's true. That
Yes.
boredom. Slay it.
Yes, on the new year, 2022. You had a good one?
I had a great one.
Me
You mean
too.
2021 was great?
Yeah, sure, that's what New Year's Eve,
Yeah.
NYE, whatever.
That evening was just what it was.
Yeah,
It was a movie and a timer that went off to make sure we had our drink at the right moment.
yeah. Sure.
What did you do?
Nothing really. I have a child, and we actually did stay up, my wife and I. I think we watched a little bit of the ridiculous CNN stuff, and we watched probably NHL on the fly, some hockey.
Oh,
something like
okay.
that. Yeah,
Solid New Year's Eve.
for sure.
We're boring people.
Yeah, sure.
But that's why we slay.
Yeah, that's
So-
why we slay. So what's episode 1, my man?
Well, we're going to begin with the Thwaites Glacier, otherwise
Yes.
known as the Doomsday Glacier.
Yeah, the Doomsday Glacier.
And
Don't freak out too much, but
no, definitely freak out. What are you talking about?
tell us what it is, for example, and what it means to
Okay.
basically the environment over the years. Should the ice shelf collapse
Yeah.
and allow it to drain into the ocean?
So I think the hardest thing to understand is that when you speak of the glacier, there's the glacier itself, but part of it is the ice shelf. And that's where the worry is. So you have like when these in the Western Antarctica, when it would snow, as the season goes, some would melt, but not all, and it would snow again. And then some would melt and not all. But this creates like an ice cube effect off the shore. So it doesn't add any mass to the water. It's like ice cubes floating on a drink. But as that gets worn away and is cracking like a windshield at this point, and that will fall off. Now, the glacier itself is being held up, buttressed,
Yes.
if I may, by this shelf. And once that shelf falls off, which is projected within the next 5 years, it's just going to start dumping itself into the ocean. And
Could
that
happen
is,
in the next 5 years.
that's not ice cubes. That's dumping a bag of ice
Yes.
into the cup. And it's going to start rising sea levels.
The term is marine ice cliff instability. It's an actual scientific term that they're concerned about.
Fancy.
Well, yeah, retreating ice exposes, unstable ice cliffs and stuff like that, retreating ice from like melting and everything. And of course, another concern is at that time, as anytime that ice melts off into the ocean, and this is like large quantities, you know what I mean? This glacier, by the way, is also the size of England, like it's huge.
Yeah, or Florida. I
Releases
guess.
methane, you know what I mean, back up into the atmosphere. So it's just, this is going to mess with our ocean currents. There's like a 10,000 mile cycle of our ocean, you know what I mean, as the cold water is at the bottom. And so it's just, if that cycle gets thrown off, ecosystems, marine life, even the weather, these are the types of things that we're going to be dealing with just from this glacier eventually melting completely and rising our sea levels and stuff. It's terrifying.
And that's where I think, again, the confusion comes in, because, yes, it could fall in the next 5 years. So best case scenario, 5th year. That's 5 years away. Then
Sure.
they're saying we're going to see over decades the repercussions. Now, that's like 10, 20, let's even be generous, 30 years from 5 years from now. It's 35 years. I'm 37. So I'll be 72, whatever. And that's still alive. Now, when they're saying that, they're saying a 10-foot
That's
rise
still
in
alive
sea
for
level.
me. That's still alive for me as well. And I have a child who,
Yeah.
will be about my age.
Bring
so.
that scope in,
Oh, for sure. I know.
So, like, that's a 10-foot rise. So people think, what's decades? Oh, we'll figure something out. We haven't. And we're here now with all the natural disasters, tornadoes in Kentucky and firestorms in Colorado in December. These things are happening now. They're only going to get worse unless we start to curb what's happening. And yet we still think like, 35 years, we've got time. There's so much wrong within that time span that can happen.
I hate to be such a pessimist, but I think no matter what's done, by the 2080s, 2100, your cities like Tokyo, Miami, New York, they're going to be probably gone. I don't even know if there's any way around that right now. It's just, it's that.
There are ways. If we all buckle
Sure, but
down.
but of course,
And again, this is not
I hate
the
to sound like
people-
one of those defeatists who's just like, oh, it is the way it is. And, do you have any idea of the entire halting of the global economy, blah, blah, blah. But it's just like, you do it in phases, but
Yeah, it's all a
Regardless.
transition.
More about this ice shelf. There's another issue about it that allows it to. It actually sits on a decline. What was this woman's name? It's held back. Yeah, held back by a rapidly declining ice shelf. And there is a glaciologist at Oregon State who noticed that it sits on a decline, so it makes it actually easier as the ice shelf collapses for the Thwaites Glacier to sort of slide into the ocean more. See what I mean? So it doesn't have a stable foundation underneath it. So it's more of just like that slope.
Yeah.
Which again, I mean, there's just so many concerns. Like it's 80 miles wide at one point. Like it's
huge.
crazy.
It's a huge amount of ice. And
it already adds like 4% global sea rise
it
right
has.
now as well.
Yeah.
So
And you know, to be completely clear here, it's when that glacier goes, that's going to raise the water by about, I think, 2 feet. They said, but it's going to cause such a
you're right, about 2 feet.
Yeah, it's such a destabilization of that zone that the Pine Glacier, which is right next to it,
Yes.
which is already having issues, is that destabilization is going to accelerate that, and that's where that 30-year plus time span of 10 feet coming up. But they do have, through satellite imaging, there was a Larsen B is the name of the glacier in 2003, and you can see the ice shelf break off, and then you watch the glacier flow into the ocean. So this isn't a hypothetical. This isn't something that you can look at and be like, this is what the scientists think is going to happen. No, this is what happens when
just look at it.
Yeah. You can see it, and you can look up at it, and you can see it too. And what they're really concerned about is the cracking at this point that is accelerated. It's like they were referring it to a windshield. You can get that one small crack, but once it starts to spread, it really spreads.
Sure.
And we're getting
spider web splintering. Sure.
I mean, people just that 5-year idea is unfathomable. 5 years ago I was 32, but there's so much that can happen in that time frame. And there is a lot we can do.
This is, I mean, a lot of what has happened has been in such a short time frame. Like since the 90s, I mean, there's twice as much as this ice, these ice shelves and glaciers and stuff melting in the ocean than there was in the 90s. So I mean, like it's
accelerating.
I mean, things really started to accelerate in the 80s, under like Reagan, like Reaganomics and stuff like that. Trickle down economics, you know what I mean? Just keep the economy just pumping through like full on capitalism, just like straight into your blood.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Works real well.
And obviously, that didn't happen. But and sure, I mean, like at that time, it's the expense. It's crazy though. Like at the time, it was at the expense of workers because you can't expect trickle down economics to work amongst millionaires and billionaires. But at the same time, we didn't realize. I mean, a lot of people did realize, but there was plenty of lobbyists and stuff that were able to shut this stuff up. That we were destroying the planet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
you're talking about 1980s Reagan.
Sure. Well, then, like, and just continuing on, like,
Yeah.
and how bad it's gotten since because of just, like, this.
There's leaked documents of ExxonMobil knowing in the
Sure.
1970s
Oh, yeah.
and actively.
Oh, yeah, but even before, sure.
Yeah, and actively, defying the science and putting out junk science to confuse the people. And that's
Oh, yeah,
still
the
going
junk
on.
science.
But, it
It's
is
like
what
some
it is.
Purdue Pharma shit, too. They love
Yeah.
that junk science.
But, when I do say that we can do something, I don't mean we as in like, not using plastic straws and doing this and that. All those little areas will help. But it's 70% corporations.
Yeah.
70% of the pollution, 70% of the problem is corporations. And it's just about their bottom dollar. I don't want to see industries go under completely. There's workers, there's people's lives at stake. I understand that. But a smooth transition, pro bono educational systems to move most coal miners to solar panel installation. How it'll take time, but we don't have
It'll
any
take a
more.
shitload of money. The government's already spent trillions just getting us through the pandemic.
It's true.
And I mean, but I agree with you. I mean, the amount of it'd just be such an expensive package. But you would have to help transition fossil fuel workers like coal miners and stuff.
Yeah.
People who work in the coal industry, you'd have to transition them into renewable energy. I mean, that would take time. Who's going to pay their bills during that time? But you'd have to do it in sectors. And I know it doesn't. Like you cannot stop the. I mean, my God, the unstoppable moving machine of like the global economy, especially with like, America forcing it all the whole time. Like you cannot stop that all at once. It's just not possible.
Well,
but
that's
if you
not
start
what I'm
doing
saying.
things in sectors, yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
if you do things in sectors to transition these workers, and that's what needs to be done, because these workers who actually tend to vote against like their own interests, like they vote to keep their jobs, and I understand that, but they don't realize again like the repercussions from working in these industries, and they don't realize, or they probably do realize, or they're in denial about that, the jobs that they have contribute to climate change. But I mean, either way, regardless whether we agree with their views or not, they still are part of this country and they have a voice and they need to be taken care of. So
Yeah.
you promise them jobs, which by the way, look, there are so many economic studies proving that renewable energy can be so much more profitable, and it's the route that we have to go at this point.
Yeah.
But stopping everything the way it is right now, just oh man, it seems like such an impossible undertaking. And you're more optimistic than I am, so I guess that's why.
I am more optimistic.
You'll start to see that as the episodes progress, people. I'll sit there and be like, I mean,
I have hope. I consider myself an optimistic nihilist, but it's it's all about zooming out and looking at time frames and seeing what you can and can't do. And the technology is ever evolving, and we're going to come to a tipping point where it's either going to be do or die on carbon. And I think we're going to do. And I think it's going to be unfortunate how it goes down for the less fortunate. Because, the countries that are going to be hit by this earliest, they're not going to make the waves. Pakistan is one of, globally where they're located on this planet, they are like a linchpin for global warming. They're going to see all of the early signs. Yeah. And they're getting destroyed right now. But it won't matter, until these rich countries, more endowed countries will get some repercussions. So seeing tornadoes and stuff in the U.S., and I'm hoping it opens eyes. I hate to see the destitute.
Yeah,
I mean, not destitute, whatever. They become destitute by it all. And I hate to see that. I don't want to see anybody go through any strife or suffering.
The devastation.
Devastation, thank you. Sure. But at the same time, like, I think we need to get punched a few times, because somebody needs to say, oh, this is bad. The governor of California could tell you all day that, global warming is real and these are the signs, but he's the governor of California. He's not swaying anybody. We need Fox News and those talking heads to actually start pushing for change instead of digressing. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, everything just cycles. But like, all your points are like, yeah, I mean, that's the idealistic way of looking at things. I completely agree. That's how I want things. But unfortunately, what I can't seem to understand is like everything revolves around money to these people. You know what I mean? Like, it's like even the best people in the world still like have their concern about money. Even your favorite little politicians you think are so awesome. I mean, they own stocks, they own shares in companies that they write legislation for. You know what I mean? And that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
That is my biggest issue here. Like, when you can, there are so many things we can do just aside from like spending money elsewhere. Like, as far as like the military budget and stuff like that, which I have no.
Don't get me started.
Sure, but I mean, like a lot of these politicians that vote for these bills, they have stock options. You know what I mean? They have investments in these companies that make a lot of this, this money, a lot of the money, and make a lot of the, the weaponry for the war machine or whatever, whatever our soldiers might need.
Yeah.
And I know that we're competing heavily with China right now, is building like a massive, probably the biggest army in the world. I mean, at this point, I mean, who even knows? Like, what secrets they hold. But it's just,
do you foresee an actual violent war anymore?
No, I don't.
It's going to be cyber.
Or drone warfare, which I despise more than anything.
Disrupt our supply lines, or you disrupt the, just a simple oil is the way they could shut down an oil refinery, in the southern states, and it affected New Jersey.
Yeah.
I mean, you do that on a grand scale, and we're not prepared at all for cyber attacks. But I think we're putting all of our money militarily into the wrong areas, into jets and things that aren't going to be as necessary. Drones, yes, I guess, if you want to be aggressive and be protective that way. But overall,
it's like putting money, just put money into the toys that can create, like massive violent devastation, rather than just like something from within that can cause like structural societal damage, like running out of your fuel to fucking drive your car and shit like that.
Yeah.
We're more just like, oh, we're just going to send drones and just blow up like innocent aid workers and their families and stuff, and then call it a righteous hit or whatever the fuck Biden and whatever that dude did.
Yeah.
Millie, I think, was the one. He's the one that said that. But yeah, I mean, either way, it's just the way human beings operate just disgusts me. I mean, I'm telling you, my belief is that the world is the supreme being to me, the earth itself, and it's going to destroy us eventually. I think before anything else, we might aid to it with nuclear war. God, I mean, I freaking hope not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Stuff like that. But I mean, the world will ultimately destroy us because of the way that we treat it and the way that we treat each other. I mean, we're all organic. You know what I mean?
I think we'll evolve. I think we'll adapt. I think it'll be
I hope so.
uncomfortable changes, but this is a small blip in time. You know, you have Roman empires, you have empires going back, and
Yeah.
they all fall eventually. This is the American Empire, and we'll go down, and something else will come up. But you know,
The
long enough
American
time frame.
Empire will. I'll tell you what it'll do.
You're gonna die alone.
Yeah, it's gonna die alone.
When you
Wishing-
recorded that clip, I thought like that is one of the most depressive clips.
Yeah.
And
That's what I'm thinking. I
have
just feel
8
like we will be.
buttons.
I
That
mean,
was
almost
one.
like in that movie. You know what I mean? Like we were the only ones that decide to fuck everything up because of the power of industry and economics. Like, let's mine a fucking meteor.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Let's see how we can make money off this stuff before we actually like.
You transition
what's
to,
right.
to the movie Don't Look Up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The rest of the world is just like, well, we're trying to do things, but like they failed. Who was it? Like Russia, Russia, Iran, and like somebody else. And their mission failed. And the initial mission that had the 80% success rate before they turned it around so they could mine shit off the. I mean, it's just again, it's just all about
indicative
money.
of what's going on right now.
Sure. And I don't know.
You know, we have plans to mine more coal in the U.S. than we did last year. How can our administration, this administration, be this inept? Just to not even like at least hit even to last year? Maybe try and meet some goals, have goals?
Yeah.
No, we're just gonna do,
Just a bunch of
bottom
pussies,
dollar.
man.
I guess.
I mean, that's the problem. Like, you have a lot of wackos on the right who have so much conviction in like the craziest shit. And you have people on the left that are just like, I mean, they think that our
we have
institutions,
crazies as well.
yeah, but they think that our institutions are just gonna right themselves. You know what I mean? And there's so much of this poison and this stuff already seeding its way through like those institutions, like our military, our police, obviously our politics, our Congress. I mean, there's so many fucking lunatics in there that spout off the craziest shit, conspiracy theories, and people eat the shit up and they love it. And I mean, it's like that's what the left just like, they're not doing enough about that. They think these institutions will just like right themselves in some way. So they're just like sit back and whatever, you know, collect money from their donors, collect money from their stock options and shit like that.
Yeah.
But they do nothing. Like,
It's gonna be quid pro quo for quite some time.
yeah. I don't know how you bring these people together at this point, because it's really just about riling up constituents. And
Conversation.
I'm just like, I just want a good future for my kid, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but I mean, shit.
you have to worry about that Doomsday Glacier.
Yeah, I know that Doomsday Glacier. Seriously, people, look it up. Thwaites, the Thwaites Glacier.
Yeah.
It's in like Western Antarctica.
Yeah. We got a short time frame, but there's really
Sure.
not much you can do but vote.
Yeah,
Again.
really. It is. I mean, and obviously there's so much legislation going around.
Yeah. And be
Trying to,
educated, really.
trying
Be
to-
educated to have these kind of conversations. I
Yeah.
feel like that is huge. So many times on any social media platform, the argument begins and it should be a debate and it's an argument, and I'll try really difficult to corral them to being more of a debate than an actual argument. But
Good for you on that, man. I pride you for that. I don't have the patience.
that's what you need.
For it.
Everybody needs it. If you feel educated enough
That
to
move- don't look
spout
up-
out.
Don't look up reinforce that for me though. It's just like, I mean, come on. Like at the end,
Yeah,
like
I know.
you just want to lose your mind, you know?
There are some lost causes, that's for sure. But even like that argument / debate that you're having is being read by other people that now have information for
Sure.
their family members, for other people, that it could just spread out.
I think it's really tough for me
Be
to
the virus.
I think it's really that entire movie like hit me. Oh, are we going into the COVID now?
No.
That entire movie hit me as something that oh yeah. Is it
COVID.
that entire movie hit me as like it's like it just spoke exactly what I've been saying to so many different people that I work with, like my wife and stuff. I can't comprehend how something directly in front of you is how you try and fight for that not being real just because it's not politically convenient for you. Like, that's just insane. And it comes down to COVID. It comes down to, climate change. I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. I feel like is it just like this human, like just humans in general just have this will to just want to debate and get nasty with each other and just like believe in stupid shit that makes absolutely no sense just because, like the other guy, the side I don't like, happens to have a firm stance against, this crap that I'm rallying on about. Like, I just don't, it's nuts, man.
I never thought that Trump would become president, and
Yeah,
then
I mean that's
that was to me like, okay, the reality I know isn't real right now.
yeah.
Like the where I thought consciousness was, or as a society, we're not where I thought we were. And then as it went on, I was like, well, look at his press conferences. Obviously, this isn't going to last, and it's still going on. I mean, Republicans didn't show up to the January 6th like memorial, whatever they did, remembrance
The
thing.
Daily Shows, that was great.
What's that?
The freedom surrectionists or whatever they did, they set up like memorials like in New York somewhere of like, you know how like Donald Trump and like all the and Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these and like the quotes they had on January 6th last year.
Oh wow,
And
I didn't know about
it's
this.
hilarious.
Well, I was just referring to like they spent a lot of time on it at Congress. Biden did a pretty impassioned speech about it. But like while he was speaking, there were members of Congress that didn't show up, and they were attacked.
Yeah.
Some of them, like, what's it? Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
He calls it a terrorist attack, and yet they're like, well, but along party lines, if I'm not gonna get votes if I show up to this thing. I better not.
Did you see when he went on Tucker Carlson and apologized?
Oh yeah,
Oh my God, what a spineless turd.
yeah. But he'll get reelected.
But the things these soulless jackasses, man, like getting behind the craziest shit that they know is wrong, but they're doing it for votes and their comfy lifestyles and all the
Yeah.
it's just wrong, man. Like, how do you sleep at night? Like these
on
are
a
elected
bed of
officials.
dollars. So
Yeah.
that's how power and money, it corrupts.
Fucking assholes, man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
You look at an area like Africa that goes through coups yearly. There were 6 coups in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
And the reasoning is because they're a new country. They're trying to find their footing.
Wait, where Africa?
Yeah.
You mean the continent?
Yeah. Like
I mean countries with like just coups
within there,
countries.
yeah,
Yeah, sure.
Because of colonization being like the 1950s, the 60s is when they really got a chance to be their own areas, be their own country,
Yeah.
and they're trying to put together their government. And every time they put someone in power, it corrupts instantly.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you have that kind of freedom and power, I mean, that's just it's an extreme analogy, but again,
Power
zooming
corrupts.
out, yeah, it's just the way it goes. The people you would hope that you're voting for and voting into office, they could change.
But what is power? Other than like
Money.
crazy, like okay, but like don't you think there's more than like with the cult of personality? Like there's some serious power in that. You know what I mean? Like Donald Trump might have money, but like that's his personality like is a cult. People will follow him just because the guy's an asshole. They might sit there and be like, oh, he'll run the country like a business, and that's what I prefer.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, there's more to him than that like drives things, and that's what scares me. But for the most part, I mean, yeah, money. I mean, that basically
It
is
comes
that's
down
the
to
majority
money.
of all power.
When
I mean, sure.
when Trump says something, no one cares if it's positive, negative. It doesn't matter. It's the people that benefit from his doings that make money say what you just said was a genius. Like
Yeah.
I don't think he has an infectious
Sure, yeah.
personality. I think that his minions beyond.
As far as his voting constituents, the voting body that votes for him,
Yeah.
they might give him money to fund his campaigns and shit. Which, by the way, he can keep. People, I just want to let you know,
Yeah.
he may not even run again. The money you donate to him, that dude can just keep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That he raises for his. Oh my god.
They're susceptible to the algorithm. That's
Whatever
all
the
you
hell it
look
is,
at.
the PACs that he's got going. I mean,
Yeah.
that's his money. He can use it for his campaign, or he can just pay off his legal bills that the SDNY is going to be up his ass with here soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
He will run again. I do not see that not happening. They didn't want him to run in the first place. Marco Rubio's, Ted Cruz's, all of them were like, this guy's a joke, and he did it anyway. So what do you think when they're groveling at his feet going, might not be a good idea, bud? Of course.
He did it because so many Americans, for some fucking reason, like I don't understand. I get that he's like the antithesis of like Obama or the left or whatever the fuck it is that you're afraid of. But this man is a fucking unqualified animal, okay? Talking about sexually assaulting women. Like, I don't care like what other instances you have of other presidents doing weird shit. This guy openly fucking bragged about it. So I mean, just for that alone, I mean, that is an unfit human being who should not be president. You want a freaking a Supreme Court justice, a person like, oh, something he did 18 years ago when we're talking about Kavanaugh. We were talking about the types of people that create legislation, like, federal legislation. They should be above fucking reproach, okay? Somebody that is going to blatantly be accused of sexually assaulting somebody is going to blatantly brag of sexually assaulting women. You know what I mean? That is not even, I mean, just get the fuck out of here, man. These are the people that are supposed to lead our country, lead the free world. They should be above reproach. And that's what I can't understand.
Yeah.
I cannot understand how that alone you would agree with somebody being, just because he ended up being the Republican nominee in the end, you know, and the stupid fucking bipartisan bullshit we have too, you know, like
it's the algorithm. It confuses people, you know. As soon as that came out, there was enough counters, there was enough Antifa talk that the people that should see it to maybe make a decision didn't even. They heard about it and dismissed it because it doesn't really fit their agenda. Yeah. It's all infected by the algorithm.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do about it? Keep talking, I guess.
Yeah, and just try and get through to him, yell at him, I guess.
Yeah,
you know?
I think Leonardo DiCaprio has a good take on it.
Here we go.
This whole administration has completely lost their fucking mind, and I think we're all gonna die!
Yeah! All right. That was a sweet little riff from Yam Yam there. Our buddies from Harrisburg, PA, where we're from.
Thanks for that.
So let's transition to the next part of our episode 1 podcast of Slayers of Boredom. We're talking about possible civil war.
Yeah. Possible? We're in it.
Politically, sure. I mean,
think
we're not in like a bloody violent civil war yet, but I mean there's
many
a segment
terrorist attacks happen a
to
year?
this. There's a segment to this that concerns me, and that's, you know, the militias in this country, which there's ample information out there on. But yeah, I mean, after January 6th, I mean, how the hell can we not be in some sort of like weird? Everything's at least weird. It's a weird civil war. You walk by people and like you work with people and you're like, oh man, stuff's at least weird between us. You
Think
know what
about
I mean? Like, I don't know if I want to get violent with you, but it's fucking weird. The vibe's off. You know what I mean? And like that's concerning, I guess.
Think about your workplace right now. Like, hypothetically, it kicks off and you got to make a choice. Are you in the minority in that building? Would you survive?
I mean, this is a
You wouldn't.
this is a
There's too many.
this is a very, I mean, this is a situation, like it's a small company that I work for, and you know, like I if it was straight up, dude, I have a relationship enough with these people that I don't think that like they would just kill me over like, oh, we're gonna start killing each other now, like left and right. Oh, you didn't vote for Trump? Well, I'm gonna kill you now. I don't think it would be like that. You know what I mean? Like I joke with these guys that they vote for Trump. You know what I mean? They still stand by it, but you know, like I make fun of them and stuff, and they make fun of me, whatever. It's just
The old workplace give and take, you know?
yeah, basically. But they're I mean, FBI's done studies. There's generals, retired and generals that are still in the military that are have concerns about, like I was saying earlier, this poison that is getting into our institutions. These they can be like you know, alt-right wing ideologies and conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And that's what concerns me, because our military is supposed to uphold the Constitution, foreign and domestic. FBI lists these groups as terrorist groups. You know what I mean? Like the Proud Boys, the 3%ers and shit like that.
Oath Keepers.
The Oath Keepers especially.
Yeah.
They're very good. Oath Keepers are those guys that are rolling around with like flak vests and stuff like that. The same freaking, you know, sunglasses and hats and stuff with the patches and the rifles and stuff like that. The 5.56.
Not to interrupt you, but Oath Keepers are only former military and law enforcement.
Are they?
That's why they're they've taken the oath.
Really?
Oath Keepers are that's a prerequisite to be in that.
You gotta be kidding me.
Nope.
Well, there we go. I look like an asshole.
No.
But at the same time, I mean, I have, there's dudes that like wear these, I don't know. It's scary.
Yeah.
And that a lot of them, like, I feel the need to at least like take up arms against anybody in America just because they don't agree with them and their ideologies. Like that concerns the shit out of me.
Yeah. It's coming, the seeds of hate in these militias are unbelievably overgrown. I mean, there were kidnappings of Gretchen Whitmer. You know, well, I mean, it was a thwarted kidnapping plan, but that had murder involved as an option.
Yeah.
And Trump, in 2 days, did a press conference in Colorado. Gretchen Whitmer was the governor of Colorado, saying how, and the chants were lock her up. Like, he wasn't calming the hate. He was fanning it. And these are the, you know, stand back and stand by. Now, he is an idiot. So I don't think that he actually was trying to speak to them. I think he stumbled over his words because he doesn't know many.
I'm glad that, yeah, I know. That's a left-wing talking point that I just think is like, I mean, you just got to be like, look, the guy's an idiot, man. I really don't think he was being like, stand by.
Yeah, these aren't
stand by,
codes.
Oath Keepers, stand by, Proud Boys. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think he's he's just a PR fucking nightmare, dude.
Yeah.
How did a PR nightmare like that guy become our fucking president? Like, it's
The
weird.
algorithm.
Yeah, sure, the algorithm.
It is. It's the cause of all of your problems. But so wait, you have tons of information on militias over there. I want to hear about it.
Oh, well, I mean, it's mainly from, it's okay, the acronym ACLED, the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, along with Militia Watch, just basically just list the large cross-state right-wing militia movements. 3%ers, Oath Keepers, the Lightfoot Militia, which I think is what all really Pennsylvania has.
What is it?
Lightfoot Militia.
Lightfoot
They say it's a
militia.
mainstream militia. It's kind of large, but it's, divided by region of state. So there's a Pennsylvania
Chapter.
Lightfoot Militia. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
You have like the Proud Boys lower, the Boogaloo Boys, and there's
Boogaloo Boys. I love Hawaiian shirts. You know what
Eh.
they've done to me? Because, I mean, in a Hawaiian shirt, I look like a Boogaloo Boy. I
Yeah.
do. And I...
that sucks.
I know.
That you would wear Hawaiian t-shirts to begin with.
No.
Sean.
Come on.
Come on.
comfort.
Shouldn't be wearing that
I'm
shit.
constantly on vacation, my friend.
Oh, that's true. There's there are some left-wing militias as well. Oh my god, I can't fucking remember the name. The something about like I don't fucking care anymore. Or fucking I don't know.
What?
Dude, I you know what? I'm sorry, I forgot my notes on them. But they're the
It's a lot
God, I
harder to
can't
find
remember the
information on
acronym.
left-wing militias, I believe.
No, it was part of this same article.
But
know what I
when
mean?
you
I
when
thought
you're talking about this was an all-black militia, right?
it is an all-black militia.
Yeah,
The,
I know who you're talking about, and it's like I don't give a fuck anymore, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck anymore, or something like that. Yeah.
And but they're just armed protesters. I don't believe. I mean, they're running the training exercises and this and that, but they don't believe the country is going under. They're just trying to protect themselves.
Sure, but I mean, what? Like, maybe the issue here is people having these fucking military weapons. Like maybe the issue is like maybe I don't want either side really training for war. I don't want either one to become a target for one another at this point. You know what I mean? And the fact that we have assault rifles and training and stuff in remote areas of this country, wherever people own land and can legally do that shit. I mean, like this freaking map here, like it's crazy. There's like incidents, and this is just in 2020 before the freaking conflict. There's just like incidents all over the country from these just militias and shit like that, and it freaks me out.
In what year?
And,
Frank?
like,
What time
from
frame?
from May 24th to October 17th.
Months.
2020.
That's a
Sure.
month. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I was wondering how many years, and that's domestic
I mean, the
terrorism.
event-
Although we don't, put many of them under that moniker.
No, not really.
They're not foreign.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I still can't believe members of Congress haven't been held accountable. You know what I mean? Like, you guys know who Kinzinger is? If there's any right-wing people listening to this that want to get really mad at us, like, listen to that guy. You know what I mean? He's a conservative. He's smart. Like, I just don't get it.
Why? What does he say?
No, I'm just saying that he's not a, like, he believes that these people need to be held accountable. He doesn't believe in
The
Trumpism. You know what I
insurrectionists?
mean? Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
But the people in Congress that, like, instigated a lot of this stuff as well, like the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Matt Gaetzes and
Half this nation considers them patriots. They disregard the video evidence of them just being animals.
just don't look at it.
And yeah, just don't look at it. And then
We'll bring up Benghazi a lot. They like to bring that up. But what about Benghazi?
Yeah. And if you look into Benghazi, just as if you look into anything far enough, Hillary Clinton, who is, the villain of that story, is shown trying to get more funding, describing the security as, inept, as not up to snuff. And yet the Republican Congress said, no, you can't have any funding for that. And then, Benghazi happens, which for those who don't know, what was it, a foreign base?
Was it? Yeah. It was a lightly protected foreign base in
It was
Libya.
overrun. People died. It was a horrible experience.
Two SEALs, the ambassador, and the ambassador's he was like a computer tech or something like that. Yeah, they died.
Yeah. Didn't need
Two
to
SEAls
happen.
died in combat. Yeah, I mean, of course it didn't need to
The
happen.
biggest military budget. When you think of the military budget, it is all the countries before, number one, that's us, 760 billion. The next 10 countries combined aren't 760
Sure.
billion. Yet we spend that kind of money and we, all the socialist programs that we went through the Build Back Better plan, we have
Yeah, we can't afford it.
microscope where that money's going. But
And let's keep this in mind, people. The people that are voting for these military budgets, they hold stock options in these companies.
They're allowed.
You know what I mean? That are going to, again, produce jets, produce weapons, produce whatever our military needs. So their stocks go up, they make money. That, to me, I mean, it's almost like it's like insider trading. Almost like if you know what's going to happen, it's like, well, this could be good for our stock options, so let's just create this legislation. And that's not. That's what everybody needs to wake up and realize that members of Congress do. Like,
yeah,
they're supposed to have, and all they have to do to get you hooked is just pick one fucking fear. Say they're going to tell you somebody's going to take your job or something like that, or that our borders are going to be overrun or some fucking nonsense. And all you need to do is just scare the shit out of you, get your vote, and then fucking railroad all of us by wasting all kinds of money that could go to these social programs to, maybe your daughter, maybe people that like in any sort of situation in the ghetto and trailer parks, like anybody that's dealing with like high poverty situations that could use money to get on their feet, to get off drugs, to get educated, to do any type of thing that they're dealing with, which is even like inherited poverty. I mean,
Yeah.
it just seems so much more simpler to me than spending tons of money in areas where these politicians are gonna get paid due to their stock options and shit like that. It's just it shouldn't happen in any, and even with pharmaceuticals, like it should not happen. You should not be able to be in Congress and have any type of stock options where you can actually manipulate your financial situation, for the better through legislation that you create and vote on.
Yeah.
That's insane.
They argue about universal daycare. It's not even that expensive, and it would make families be able to get out and get a job. You know what I mean? Like, so it's another government-run program. Everybody hates that.
Mm-hmm.
There's where your regulations come in, and just do the best you can there. But think about what it would do for low-income communities. Having free healthcare. There was a study, if you want to call it a study, where this billionaire decided to go to, I think where he grew up, and he just put essentially universal daycare across his town, across his city, just paid for it all.
Yeah.
And that community had less crime. That community had, everything boosted just from daycare.
Yeah.
And yet we argue about it in Congress.
I mean, if you keep people needing to struggle, needing to pay, exorbitant things for whatever, just to survive, cost of living going up while wages aren't increasing and stuff. If you keep people on that struggle bus, I mean, that's how you keep them controlled.
Yeah.
They don't have time to rise up against you at that point. You know what I mean? They don't have time because, you got to get to work your fucking ass off, take care of your kids or whatever.
Yeah.
And they'll just punish you for having kids. Well, you shouldn't have kids, if you didn't have the money, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, well, telling somebody not to like live life is just fucking absurd. I mean, kids happen, maybe irresponsibly sometimes, but kids freaking happen. Sex happens. It's fun. Everybody loves to do that. You know what I mean? That's how you can make kids. But just again, it's like the whole like boomers telling us not to have that avocado toast or whatever the fuck they say, shit like that, or telling millennials. I guess I am one. Whatever. I'm fucking old, but.
Yeah.
But telling them not to have that avocado toast and not get that iced coffee, and then you can afford a house like I could. It's like, motherfucker, cost of living has increased so much while wages haven't. Like, one person could take care of a family when we were growing up, and before that, now, like, my wife and I both got to struggle to freaking pay bills and put our kid through daycare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's tough. We can save like $50 a month for a new house we've been trying to get, and we've been saving that for freaking, my God, probably like 6 or 7 years. 6 years maybe.
That might not even keep up with inflation, to be honest, and the housing market.
Probably. It's crazy.
But, I was having a conversation with my father over the holidays, and he had brought up that his salary was like $8,500 out of college. And I was like, okay, but what year was that?
Yeah.
He says 79. And so I typed it all in. It came out to $55,000 with inflation.
Sure.
He's making $55,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, that's comfortable, Dad. That's way more
Yeah.
than I was making. So, and that's what I think people don't understand, these time frames and how things are changing right in front of our faces. And yet, like, what empire is going to give you the education that shows that all of its negatives, give you the ammo to revolt? They're not. It's like it's all hidden with distractions constantly, and you got to look through the distractions, and you got to just see what is happening.
You get votes by getting people scared.
Well, of course.
You know what I mean? And you just railroad through everything else you want that benefits you, and not like, you know what I mean? When you have like certain politicians, I mean, again, it's just like the electoral college. And so you have certain politicians that can sway huge pieces of legislation, and they represent just such a marginal fraction of it doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
No.
But back to but these are, I mean, these are like problems that Americans are facing, like poverty and like healthcare and stuff like that. And while all of these things are being passed through back doors that they don't even realize about because they're voting for whichever politician's gonna make them feel safe, they don't realize that, like, that's why their life is hard a lot of times. And then their answer sometimes is to, find somebody to blame, whatever talking head is going to tell them whoever, to be mad at, and then feel like they need to do something and get angry. Because, I mean, who isn't going to be angry? Somebody that lives a life of just like getting by day to day, every fucking day with the fucking routine, trying to pay your bills, feeling like shit. I mean, imagine, let's just say that, for example, I'm talking about a conservative person in coal country that works their fucking ass off every day, goes back and forth to work. They live in an area where, that's mainly conservative and stuff like that. Like, they're going to be pissed off. They're going to be mad because their life fucking sucks, man. You know what I mean? But like wanting to like take up arms against like American people and join militias and stuff and talking about civil war. I mean, like there are these generals that are generally concerned that there are people in the military that belong to these militias as well, like active military.
Definitely.
Exactly. And that's what scares me about, again, it's seeping through our institutions, because when the time comes about, these militias wanting to band together and go to war, like, what do you expect? You expect our military to do something, but is that going to fraction off? Is that going to fraction off and follow one fucking lunatic who everybody says should have won an election?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or
stolen.
And then, the other side defends the Constitution and, the person who rightly won the election in our democracy. I'm not even saying Biden. I'm even in the future. I mean, this is going to happen a lot, I think.
Yeah. I mean, now that
like,
the bar's been set so low, you can fight for 4 years and still be going.
That could be a real fucking civil war. And like, we've got huge swaths of territory to fucking fight over. I mean, this country's huge.
Yeah. It's been,
you know what I mean? And it just, when military generals are saying they're concerned about that, we already know that. I actually had some great notes about, there's something about, I'm sorry, you had a point about.
Well, I was just going to say that it's been in the white supremacists' playbook to try and get into positions of power. Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be for any terrorist group to try and get into positions of power?
Sure.
But how much easier is it for a white guy to work his way up into the ladder, or work his way into the police department, or work his way anywhere that they need him?
I mean, the police department's obvious. There's tons. I mean, you can root that shit back to the Klan in certain parts of the countries. But that segues into my point I was looking for. The Military Times said 30% of active duty military have claimed to have witnessed white supremacy and racist ideologies, within the military institution wherever they were stationed and stuff like that. 36%, man, that's a fucking shitload. That's more than a quarter. That's enough to, you get enough people fired up, enough people thinking an election was stolen. I mean, fuck, Ashley Babbitt was military. She thought an election was stolen and got herself fucking killed over it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that is a huge breakdown of a societal structure, a huge part of our democracy. Like, your voting is the only thing. Like, there should be nothing stopping you from voting. Nothing. Not a single fucking thing. I mean, if you want to get into like felonies, like murderers, rapists and stuff, yeah, okay, you probably shouldn't be voting. I mean, you're killing people. Like, fuck you. You're a bane on society.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, nothing should be like, that should be the sanctity of our country. That is this democracy. When that erodes and people do not believe in that, then these sorts of things will split and will faction, and that is what really concerns me. And I just hope that our military service members, whether you hate me or not, if you're listening to this right now, just remember that, like, do you really want to go to war? I don't want to go to war with you, man. I don't want to get violent with you. I wouldn't understand why any of these militias, if Oath Keepers, like you said, and this was my mistake, if Oath Keepers have to be law enforcement or military, like, do you really want to take up arms and start shooting people over something that is just not true, that can be like, you believing in this election was stolen? I mean, it is demonstrably false. Yeah. There is nothing to prove any of it. The My Pillow guy can fucking, fluff up that pillow of bullshit all he fucking wants for you guys. You know what I mean? Your pillow's still going to be warm and sweaty and gross. The cool side of the pillow is telling you what is fucking true. All right. And My Pillow guy doesn't fucking, he has no evidence to support any of that stuff. All the different audits, a lot of times even came back with more votes for Biden. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry you don't like Biden. I don't fucking like Biden. I don't like that I had this choice
Student
again.
Loans.
I don't like that I had Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump to choose from. I mean, get the fuck out of here. I don't want either of them in there. And I didn't like the choice with Biden either. But for fuck's sake, man, you got to see, like, the way that man, I just don't get it. What people are willing to do for him. Like, I mean, storm the fucking Capitol And a lot of Oath Keepers and a lot of the Proud Boys did that stuff. Like, you're really willing to do that for a man? I mean, do you really think he cares about you? He's just chilling down in fucking Mar-a-Lago right now. You know what I mean? Being weird, hitting on young chicks and stuff. And, you know, I mean, the guy, he's just living his life up. He's not hanging out with you people. He might try and rally you up again for your money and stuff like that. But, like, fuck.
Yeah.
I just please don't think that we like Joe Biden either. Like that drives me nuts. I don't like that guy. I don't think that he's doing a good job.
He's a centrist.
Yes, exactly.
It's the same thing over and over again.
He always has been, man. And the fact that we drone that aid worker, that just, oh my God, I hate drone warfare. It pisses me off. It's so wrong. It's a cowardly way of doing things. It's wrong. It upsets me to the core.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, guys, you know, Obama loved to drone people. You think that just because I voted for Obama, I'm like, oh yeah, but no, I don't support that. I look at facts for what they are.
Yeah.
That is true. I recognize it, and it pisses me off.
He increased the program. He increased funding to that program.
There are tens of thousands of drone strikes
Yeah.
under Obama's administration. And trust me, tons of innocent people died.
Yeah.
You're never going to hear about that, you know, and that pisses me off. Our country, if we're supposed to be the shining light of the world, we shouldn't be doing that stuff. And it doesn't mean I don't support the military, but, like, at the same time, supporting our country and the Constitution is amazing. Like they're badasses. They're warriors and stuff. Like, just being able to fight and have the balls to do that is awesome. But, like, a lot of times, if politicians think about it, if they're voting for companies that they have stock in, that they're going to make money off of, then you're voting for their financial interest and the interest of very small groups of people.
Yeah.
That basically have their hand up the ass of America, and you are a tool that they use, you know what I mean, to further their interests, and lives are lost over it.
Yeah.
Like military lives, people that, I mean, it's just, I support the military more than anything. I don't want any of you to die. You know what I mean? But I don't support sending you out to fight wars for rich people, you know, freaking
And that's what it comes down
Cheney
to.
and the Halliburton folk, you know what I mean? Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Most of the wars, if you go back, you know, what are we fighting for? What's the real end game? Because we can now look at it from multiple angles. It wasn't real time that it was happening. And when you can actually digest the information and look at it, it was always rich people getting richer or politicians getting power. It was, you know, over oil, over this and that. But like you said, like, I have no problems with vets. I think they're noble. I have nothing but respect. But it's the wars that they were a part of that I just feel bad, in the sense of, like you said, pawns. They were just numbers on a sheet. Send this amount of numbers over there to see how much oil we can get, kind of deal.
Following orders is important, though. I mean, you just gotta hope that, like, I mean, that's the whole hierarchy of the military. Like, you follow orders, and that's how respect is earned. You know what I mean? But you just gotta hope that the ones that are sending those orders are.
Well,
I mean,
you know.
I don't even know, man. It's fucking combat. I don't even know what it would be like to be in a firefight, to be placed in that situation. You know what I mean? I'm just questioning why our soldiers would have to be there in the first place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like it would scare the shit out of me. You know what I mean? And sure, it's ballsy as fucking when they come home, it's awesome. But, like, I mean, some of them, like SEALs, I think they're a different breed. You know, like, they're one in a million. They're so intelligent and they're extremely smart people, and they, you know, like, can take these conditions. I feel like they live to fight, like, to go and dispatch the enemy and stuff like that. But I mean, a lot of these dudes that come back with PTSD and stuff, I mean, like, I just question why it had to happen. And I know there's a huge movement of people in the military now and retired military that feel the same way. I mean, there's so many different instances of dudes getting killed for no reason. And, like, when it all comes down to it, in the end, it pisses me off that, like everything else, it's just all about money. But as I was saying this, I was thinking, like, who would benefit financially from a civil war? Like, if things just evolved into, like, all out civil war in this country, who would benefit financially from that?
Off the top of my head, I would lean.
Like Lockheed Martin would, you know, they're the ones that build jets and stuff. I mean, I'm really hoping that we're not going to start just, like, bombing, like, huge, like, oh, there's a huge swath of, you know, whatever.
No, it'll be
rebels over here in Colorado. Let's bomb the shit out of the Rockies. Like, fuck that.
It would be small insurrections all over.
Yeah,
you know. But I think the GOP. You know, if you want to broad scope it, who would benefit from a civil war? The GOP. It would rile people up. It would make people scared. The more scared,
until these militia members start coming home in fucking body bags and shit like that. Come on.
That's jihad for them, man. You know, that's being the ultimate patriot, dying for your country in combat. And most of these guys,
Yeehad.
never seen Al Qaeda.
Yeah, Al Qaeda. That's right. Jesus.
But
Man,
yeah,
it's scary. I don't want civil war. I don't want any of that shit, man.
no,
I have a
but
child.
I
want
think it
him
is
to- I
happening
want him-
already, and if we need to open our eyes, you look at the amount.
I mean, there's not open violent conflict in
This
the
was
streets.
months. The United States. This was months, and there's at least 35
It's just
to 50
events that
on
they
there.
have. You like gathering events. Not all of them are like violent and stuff like that. But I mean,
Oh, maybe I didn't know what I was looking at.
there's the mainstream militia groups are definitely
That
out
changes
there,
a lot.
mainly all over the country. So
Yeah.
I mean, oh, excuse me, that burp was nasty.
Well, I'm glad it was included.
But there's just I think there's another thing about like the left that I was saying before. Like in order to combat this type of behavior, there needs to be. I mean, we just need to fucking stop sitting back and assessing. Basically, I hate to use that phrase from Don't Look Up, but it's true. I mean, like we can't just. There's no reason to sit there and think that our institutions are just going to right themselves. You know what I mean? That they're just going to the ship will right itself. That everything will just be fine. Like I don't know that we can have that much faith in these institutions right now, if they're being infiltrated like some of these the higher ups in them are saying, and like it's really
Well,
concerning.
what do you do? What do you do? You're saying stand
I don't
up.
know.
Like if you go to these protests, there's potential for things to get out of hand, and then you could get arrested. Those people are going away for years that were at these protests. There's a lawyer that fought for Ecuadorian rights against ExxonMobil, I believe, and won billions of dollars for Ecuador in to pay for the pollution damage that they did.
Yeah.
That lawyer is in jail right now.
Wow.
And it's only for 6 months to a year or something along those lines. But they brought up some crazy, stupid charge to, because of how legalities of how the whole court process went down. He didn't do one step. And because he stepped out of line, they were like, got him, let's put him away. So he gets put away, gets taken away from his family for a year. And all he did was fight for what was right. I want revolution, obviously. But if you step out of line, there are crazy repercussions for those that try to speak truth. I really think so.
Well, yeah, sure.
Try to
There's-
actually make change. Like, you better be prepared for a war. Civil war. I don't know what to do, man. I feel education. Education's everything. Get people to think. Get people to question what they believe, and or reinforce it in the right ways with factual information, not just hearsay. Everything you hear us say, look it up. Fight us
but
constantly.
Here's the next point, and we'll probably start wrapping things up here. But the internet is rife with misinformation, with lies and stuff, and that, to me, social media especially, is, I mean, that is the catalyst, man. That is what is damaging everything. You can get away with so much bullshit, and I mean, there's people that base their entire political outlook, their entire societal, cultural outlook on Facebook. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, how do you stop a machine that big, which again just generates billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars? Like, I mean, e-commerce, the advertisements and shit. Like that one woman from Facebook that used to work there, I mean, she claimed that the more clicks that you would get, the more likes, the more comments and stuff. So like every time that we are getting pissed on that dude who has a crazy fucking conspiracy theory take on Facebook,
Spreads
and we're
it
arguing
further.
with him and stuff, it just spreads everything further and makes them more money. That's why they're not going to censor it.
Yeah.
Again, everything is about money. But I mean, yeah, I don't want to see this, and I truly believe that, like, at least as far as climate change goes, I don't think the Earth will completely destroy us till at least like 2080, 2100 maybe. But I certainly don't want to. I don't want to see civil war, and I think that. Oh my god, I just lost my train of thought because I was just thinking about how much Mark Zuckerberg is just like a fucking robot, and like.
Well,
the
I
meta
think,
and
again,
everything.
it's education, because when I keep saying it's the algorithm, like, that's everything. Every time you do your facial lock on your phone, that's getting cataloged,
Yeah.
showing age progression for whatever reason.
Sure.
And every little click you do, they can see where your eyes, are focusing
Mm-hmm.
on the screen. So like you have a detailed map, your personal self, on how best to manipulate you into commerce, how the advertising will
absolutely.
work the best, whether it's for sales or whether it's for emotional pull. And large corporations can use Cambridge Analytica and say, I want to hit this small area of people that are on the fence and push them with
forgot
everything
about
that's going to show
Cambridge
them over.
Analytica.
Yeah. And then that shoves them all over because they
Yeah.
don't know any better. They don't understand that what they're clicking and liking is building this easy door into their mind. So again, it's education. Know what you're clicking on, know what you're researching. If something seems fantastic and really, really right, like you feel like it melds with your belief system, double check it with Fox News and double check it with CNN and see what's real. Find the median, because so many people would just take the headline. Don't read the article. Share the headline, and the article may just be all bullshit too, but it's that they don't even care to learn about what they're passionate about.
Check your sources. Even
Yeah.
just simple things like John Oliver will tell you this if you could ever convince yourself to watch it, because he'll just make you look stupid. But anyway, sorry,
Every
not.
day. I will
but-
watch him every day.
But no, I just mean people that are refuse to see things for the way they
Yeah.
are. But I mean, make sure that like the article you're reading has a fucking author. Make sure that the picture you're looking at, make sure that's sourced. Make sure there's like where the photograph was taken from where. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like double check this stuff. You can't just go everywhere your confirmation bias wants to take you, just because it makes you comfortable. Because in the end, I mean, I'm sorry, but like, you're doing real fucking damage. You know what I mean? Like to believe in types of these things and to continue this rhetoric of civil war and like hating one another and like it scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, not
And
to
I
tangent to
just don't-
COVID. Not to tangent to COVID before we sign off here, but that guy that was on Joe Rogan that spouted all his fucking lies. I don't know if you knew about that, about vaccines and pretty much all of COVID information that he put out. But one of the things he sourced, right? So you could maybe verify off this guy. Oh, he's got a source there. You check it out, and it's his own testimony at Congress. It was another time he said it.
Oh yeah. Okay,
So like
okay.
you can even see that sourced and be like, okay, I like this article. That source may be completely fabricated.
Sure.
So it's just a minefield out there. Just keep your eyes open and try and be logical. The world's burning and you have very little time to think. Enjoy the thinks.
Man, logic pieced out a long time ago. People want to believe that like vaccines are being like microchips are in them and shit. Like I mean, it's just crazy. I just don't understand. I always think about like doing something funny, like, what should be the slogan for America? You know what I mean? Like, America, let's make it political. Or like, America, not my lawn, not my problem. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like, and it's just like, this when this intellectualism and this anti-science like take reign over, just logic and
When it's
like
not
the
profitable.
science itself. I mean, when
Do
it's
you know
not,
how much they push science when it's profitable?
Mm.
If it's gonna take away from their bills, and that's probably junk. We don't need to push that at all. We'll just
we'll
thwart
push
it.
it. Yeah. Ugh.
I want to hear Leo one last time.
Yeah, sure. We'll leave you with this.
This whole administration has completely lost their fucking mind, and I think we're all gonna die!
This was episode 1, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Bye.
The Slayers of Boredom Podcast.